Hi, everybody. Welcome to welcome to the JQK Law Firm live Q&A, where we take your questions about U.S. immigration live and answer them to the best of our ability, general educational kind of stuff. But we're here to answer questions about the U.S. immigration process. I'm an immigration lawyer. Again, I'm John Pesravi, managing attorney of the JQK Immigration Law Firm, headquartered in Los Angeles, California, but have other offices across the country. And frankly, we can help everybody across the world with the work we do. So our location normally does not matter for most cases. But listen, we're here live on YouTube, on TikTok, on Facebook, and LinkedIn, and Instagram, all over a lot of different places. I just realized on our Instagram page, we're on the wrong channel. I have multiple channels, so let me switch it up. A lot of the wrong people are getting this message. But while I do that, I will let you know that we do give away free video consultations on this live feed. All you got to do is like and subscribe, and either post an interesting question or just say, can I get a consultation, please? Or a consultation, and then we'll randomly choose people. Not too random. It's kind of like, if someone has a good question, the more the people who have good questions are going to get it, as opposed to the ones who just say consultation. But hey, it's a mixed bag. Mostly my assistant, Katrina, will name the people off for me to choose. And else I randomly feel like it, I'll choose somebody as well. So we have that. Also, if you're interested in learning about marriage immigration cases, fiance visa, this is our main case type that we handle, although we do work visas, investment visas, all this kind of stuff. If you're interested in one of the learning about the fiance visa and the marriage green card case, download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide at marriageimmigrationlaw.com. That's marriageimmigrationlaw.com, and that's where you learn all about the A to Z of the process, and there's charts and 40 plus pages of information. It's the go-to place. Before you're going to start your case, go there, learn about it, then contact immigration lawyers to ask, because then you're coming with a full bag of knowledge, ready to go to ask good questions, and you have to judge whether the attorney you're dealing with knows what they're talking about or not. Having said that, let's start taking the questions. All right, Sammy says, hi, good to see you. Thank you, Sammy, for joining us. He says, hi, Mr. John. Could you please tell me, accordingly to your experience and what you've seen in your practice recently, what is the average time for a joint I-751 and what's the deadline? So first of all, an I-751 removal of conditions is a form you do when you have a 2-year green card, based on the fact that you got a green card through marriage, but your marriage is rather new, so they only give you a 2-year green card instead of a 10-year green card. And when that 2 years is about to expire, you have to file Form I-751, prove relation is real. Now, the average processing time for this is between 6 months to 2 years, and that's such a wide average that's pretty worthless. I have cases that did 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and sometimes they go after that. Most of the time, when people are married to citizens, we just file for citizenship while this case is pending. And you ask, what is your deadline? What is that deadline? There is no deadline, so it could go even longer. I've seen that happen. It doesn't necessarily mean your case is weak. It's just the part of the government that does the removal of conditions from I-751 is understaffed. So there's a huge, huge, huge backlog that has emerged for this type of case. And unfortunately, that's it. So that's what we're seeing. That's what we're dealing with when it comes to this kind of stuff. But thank you for your question. The honest truth is, don't think about it too much, because people get very frustrated as to how long the I-751 was taking, and it becomes a real problem. I had one guy, it was the regular show, even sued them, but I think it's overkill. It's going to get done. And again, file citizenship if you can, if it's appropriate for your case. Now, one note on Instagram, it keeps getting choppy, shutting down off and on, so sorry about that. But let's take the question from Mohammed, and then we'll switch off to Instagram. Mohammed says, I got a receipt from USCIS. It does start with an IOE. Which service center is that? When you get a receipt notice, it starts with the IOE. That means it's being done electronically. It doesn't necessarily mean it has a, I'll be honest, I can't remember which service center that would be. IOE is the designation they put on all this stuff as electronic now. But you really never know which service center has your case, to be honest. So when you get the receipt, which you say you got, on the bottom left of the receipt, it'll name a service center. So IOE is just a designation they started using when they started taking things electronically. On the bottom left of the receipt, it'll say which service center it is. But although that service center issued the receipt, it may have changed. And so they may have sent your case somewhere else. It might be a different location. And if you call them and ask, they might give you a different location name. But in reality, even that person on the phone doesn't realize they changed it, or it's not an updated system. So from this point, I realized you never really know which service center has your case. And people want to know the service center because they want to look up the processing times for that service center. But again, like the previous question about how long an I-751 takes and average and stuff like that, they're so inconsistent about the timelines of how these things take, and they're so different that it's to a point where I don't even bother looking at these things, except rarely if you want to sue them or you want to see if it's way outside what they claim the average is. Looking up times and stuff like that is just it's just going to frustrate you. So if you're looking for a service center, it doesn't really make a difference for most of the time what you're doing. I wouldn't, spend time on it. Let's see. Let me take a question on Instagram. I don't know about XRP. I don't know what that is, so I can't answer that question. But Alex on Instagram asks, what happens after an I-212 is approved for someone overseas? So I-212 is a waiver. Excuse me. I have to edit out that sneeze later. But if it's approved, then you have to contact the embassy, or if you're dealing with CBP at the Canadian border, you have to get a visa issued. If you're able to get an I-212 approved and you don't have other inadmissibility issues. It's kind of a technical kind of thing that doesn't pop up for a lot of people, so I just leave it as that. Our next question is, Habib Rayat says, if your case is documentally qualified but priority isn't current, is it considered a backlog case? There's backlog doesn't have necessarily a definite. There's no official thing called a backlog case. But essentially, if your priority isn't current, it's just waiting. So it's just you're on a line for your case to be current. That's what it is. I'm not sure if backlog is considered an official term to call it a backlog case, but your case isn't backlog essentially, depending on how you want to define what backlog is. But you gotta wait for your case to be current. TB asks, can you file a second I-485 as a derivative if you are in a period of authorized stay, though your first I-485 as primary? So through your first I-485 as primary, L1B I-94 expired. So it's an interesting question. You could file multiple I-485s. You don't have to have just one. I have a case right now where a person actually wanted to do this, and the attorney I filed their first one said you can't file the second one, which is incorrect. We filed the second one. But to file from I-485, you have to be in status. So that's one thing. I have a lot of videos about the issue of people who filed for asylum and are a period authorized stay, and who get their adjustment of status denied because it's not considered authorized. It's not considered status. But there are exceptions. So let's say you had an L1B, which is a work visa that's expired, and the I-485 your primary on is based on being employment-based green card, EB1, 2, or 3. In those, if you're filing green card based on those, you can have an expired I-94 out of status up to 180 days and still apply for adjustment of status, even though you're out of status. So there's a lot more information I need to know about the green card type that you're doing and to see how to calculate when status ends if it's included. But most of the time, if you're in a period authorized stay, it's not considered status, and you cannot file for I-485. There's always exceptions. The exception I spoke about the employment base is called 245K. There's another exception called 245I. This is if people are had a case filed for them in the 90s. It's a complicated thing. Or, for example, you get married to a U.S. citizen. In those kind of cases, the I-485 you can file at any time, even if you're out of status. So for those watching live, I really apologize. I'm getting notifications on all these different apps that my internet's going up and down. I'm not sure why that's happening, but it's one of the unfortunate things that happens to these kind of things. But thank you for your question, TB. I think we have you won our free consultation last time. It looked familiar. I think so, but I'm not sure. But hopefully you chat more. I'll just name the first winner of our free consultation. So TB, just take a screenshot where you're watching this so I see your idea. Know it's you at info@jqqlaw.com. We'll schedule a free private consultation. We'll take the next question. Tur asks, first receipt says had at Nebraska, and the second receipt had at Vermont Service Center. Application. Tara, you're approving my point I made about 5 minutes ago. One of the questionnaires, I think it was Muhammad or somebody, asked which service center has my case. They so much, and they designate a service center as the place working on your case, but then you get an approval in a different place that I've like stopped even trying to know which service center, which application center is actually handling the case, because it's so inconsistent as to where it's actually handling the case. And even when you call them, they don't give you a straight answer. And sometimes they don't even know the person you're calling with. So I've given up on trying to figure that out. You just kind of have to pray that the right place gets working. So let me answer a quick question on Instagram. Malik asks, I filed I-75 last December. How long is processing times? already deeply talked about this one. It varies on different applications, 6 months to 2 years average, sometimes faster, sometimes slower. Moved to the last, applied for I-751 and got a 24-month extension. The extension has expired last month because of the driver's license had expired. Unable to get an info pass for 2 months. What to do? Well, you complain to a congressperson and explain what happened. You can complain to the ombudsman's office. They're less inclined to help in these kind of cases because they've gotten so many complaints at the USCIS ombudsman's office about delays and stuff that a lot of times they're not helping with that. But you got to file a complaint and try to get info pass appointment. It's hard. For example, I have a case right now where we have a guy who filed for a green card in the United States. When you file for a green card in the United States, most of the time, you're not allowed to exit the United States unless you get special permission, called advance parole. We have applied for that, but a really bad situation with a family member of this person has happened. They need to leave immediately because it's really a matter of life or death that they have to go to see the person. And we requested emergency info pass appointments from a USCIS field office. And we've been going back, requesting it for 10 days now, and they finally approved an emergency advance parole info pass appointment for advance parole, and they scheduled for 10 days from now. So we needed it today, 10 days ago, and essentially from the time we started, we found out we need this. It's going to be like 2 or 3 weeks afterwards that we'll just even get the appointment to go to info pass appointment. An info pass appointment is when you go to a local USCIS field office to do something. Usually it's to get one of these stamps that show you have a green card, or stamps to give you permission, or it's a piece of paper to get permission to travel, this or that. Stuff that's really urgent or things that you have to go in person handle is what you do with an info pass appointment. And so you're saying for 2 months you can't do it. They're just so understaffed, and frankly, it seems like there's no service going on with these agencies. These are the situations we're dealing with. Things are just not moving forward, whether it's processing timelines, whether it's info pass appointments. But if you need, contact your congressperson and say, hey, I need this for, if you need it for a certain purpose, like driver's license or work authorization approved for travel, something, let them know and try your best. But I saw in this one case that we have that this is a life and death situation, and they didn't even try to help, which shows to me like where it's a lost cause, unless you want to file a lawsuit, which is something could do. That'll solve it, but it's a lot of money and it's still waiting and stuff like that. But sorry, Muthu, it's a bad situation. User 35 asks, I didn't get my oath ceremony letter. My interview was on August 3rd. It's 3 months before. I'm worried now. That does happen sometimes that takes forever. Not necessarily a bad thing, but I don't know the details of your case to say whether you should be worried or not. I had a case in January where they went to interview in January and they didn't issue the oath ceremony for 6 months. There's no reason for that. We mentioned a 6-month mark. I mailed the USCIS field office director, the head of that office, and said, listen, if you don't get this done now, we're going to sue you. And that got the ball rolling. But you don't want to threaten lawsuits to people unless you're going to do it. It's one you never want to get empty threats to people. But that's the situation. Omar Schwartz says, got approved for a green card but never received it in the mail. Was advised to submit I-90 replacement for the green card. How long does it usually take? I'm worried it may take years. Yeah, you should be worried. Unfortunately, it's a really bad situation. I-90s are requests for getting a replacement of green card. If your green card is expired or is lost and you get a new one, I filed a whole family's green card renewal request. It wasn't lost, but it was renewal. The mom got her green card 3 months. It's been exactly a year this month that the rest of the family have still not got their green cards. And things have gotten so backed up that just a couple of months ago, USCIS updated where once you file a request for an I-90 replacement, you'll get a receipt notice to act as an extension of your green card to hold you over. And they took that automatic extension from 1 year based on that receipt notice to 2 years. So that's an indicator as to how long it's going to take for your I-90 replacement. It could be faster. It's just so random with them. But expect a long delay. This issue where they lose your green card and the mail offer is approved, it happens to 5 or 10% of cases I've seen. And it's a nightmare of a situation. There's not much you can do about it because they'll blame you and say you lost it. So you do the renewal. In the meantime, if you had an immigrant visa stamp in your passport, you got your green card through the embassy, that stamp will act as a green card for 1 year to hold you over, 1 year from stamping. And also, as I talked with the previous person about the info pass appointment, if you lost your green card, that paper extension is not going to help you because you don't have the original green card. You didn't lose, you never got it. So you probably will need to get an info pass appointment to go in person to get a green card stamp in your passport to serve as evidence of your lawful permanent residency. But getting an info pass appointment is a very, very difficult endeavor, as we've seen and talked about in the show today. It's interesting, these themes, these questions come and it come back to back that are related. That's that's the interesting thing that was there. But unfortunately, it's a lot of waiting, and you have to waste money on finding a replacement when it's not your fault. Let me take a quick question on Instagram. Kokabi, a friend of mine, says, "Hello, dear John. Can I request SS Social Security SSI card with the IOE number?" I'm not sure what an SSI card means. Social Security card, Social Security number card with IOE number. No, I think you're talking about Social Security card. For that, you need to show evidence having a green card, and so you go to your local Social Security office, bring your immigrant visa stamp and the filing that you did to get the extension of the card, stuff like that itself would help them out. They want to see proof that you're a green card holder. You have it with your immigrant visa stamp, and you can show the receipt as additional stuff. Or you can do what we talked about already: is get the info passport, get a stamp in your passport that shows you have a green card, and use that as well if the previous immigrant visa stamp at this point expired, which I think has been a year, so it has in your case. So that's the answer to that. Unfortunately, it's just a lot of delays. But thank you for your question. Good to hear from you. I think we have another question on Instagram. Jaja said, "Will I get any problem if I worked as a software engineer in MedMen cannabis company when I try to nationalize?" Yes, unfortunately, it can be. So MedMen is a company that sells, cannabis, marijuana for fun use. And although in many states of the United States it is legal to use cannabis to smoke weed, if you will, it's not legal federally. It's a federal crime. So if you work for these companies, and this is for all people, you're essentially committing a federal felony because you're, in the use and distribution and sell of drugs. And if you're a U.S. citizen, they're not doing much about it. They're letting it go right now. Who knows what happens? But if you're a green card holder and you need to file for citizenship, they got you right there, because you got to ask the federal government for a benefit. And in that naturalization application form N-400, you have to list your jobs, and they see that one of your jobs was working with a company that sells drugs, a federal crime. Not only will you not get citizenship, there's a good chance that they'll try to deport you and kick you out of the country, take away your green card, and ban you from coming into the United States. So it's an extremely serious matter that just it's really bad. So unfortunately, that's the case. Be very cautious and careful about the situation you're dealing with. But thank you for your question. Lunami says, "Hello, I had an arrest for a misdemeanor case and was dismissed. Can I renew my green card?" I don't know anything about the details of your arrest, probably, but because I don't know the individual case, I can't tell you what you can do or something like that. I haven't seen the arrest record. I haven't seen the dismissal record. I've had clients say my case was dismissed, and we look into it. They just didn't show up to court, and they have a warrant out for the arrest. So I can't rely on you saying I got to look at the documents. So I can't give you individual legal guidance. But if the misdemeanor was an okay misdemeanor and it was dismissed, probably it's okay. Sometimes, for example, it depends on the paperwork. I want to be very cautious because this is public information. I can't just tell you based on some screen thing what it is. It's probably okay, but I can't advise on that without reviewing the whole case. A question on Instagram, Baby Shan says, "Can I travel with a travel document waiting for my green card?" I don't know if you have an advanced parole document and you have good background, that doesn't have issues, and I don't know, and issues could be a lot of different things, then potentially. But I need to know more information, Baby Shan, before I could advise on that. So I can't give you that individual legal guidance, not an issue. Mo asks, "What about the new cycle goal of USCIS? Any thoughts of this?" Hopefully they get faster at processing cases, but well, I'm not optimistic, but let's be optimistic. Hopefully that happens. But they say a lot of things. We'll see if they actually do it. Sultan asks, "How long does it take for something for expired green card renewal?" I talked about getting a lot of big questions, but in one sense, I don't want to repeat myself too much for watching a live show, but in another sense, shows the issues that people are having over and over again is the delays, particularly getting info pass appointments, particularly I-751 renewals, particularly I-90 renewals. It's taking over a year in most of these cases in these situations. Sammy asks, is it enough 3 joint taxes, or you have to continue joint till approval I-751? Is it true that N-400 pushes I-751, or is there a connection between the two? What's your average timeline for applying for N-400? So I'll start with the last question. The N-400 naturalization application timelines vary dramatically because you have to do an interview in person at a local field office. And every field office has different staffing, different volume of cases it handles, different procedures. So it's a wide variance between the whole country as to how N400s are handled. And you might have the same office. I'll file in Los Angeles an N400 citizenship application. It takes one client 3 months. It takes one client 1 year and 3 months. So there's no way to know how long it'll take. And when you do file for citizenship for N400, if you go online, it'll give you, expected processing times. That is wildly unreliable too. You just have to wait. Now, when it comes to joint taxes, it's never a requirement that you have to file joint taxes. You can file if you're married, you got to file married, but you can file married separately. It's much better to file married till the end for a lot of different reasons. But it's up to you as a personal thing, as a tax thing. So talk with an accountant, attorney, private to see if you like to do it. Now, with regards to whether the I-751 filing we push forward the N400, it's not that it pushes it forward per se. It's that the N400 application has more officers adjudicating, so it gets done faster than the I-751. And when you go to your naturalization N400 interview, if the I-751 is not approved yet, most officers just adjudicate both at the same time, get out of the way. So in that sense, it pushes it forward because the officer's there, they just make a decision and get it done most of the time. So hopefully that answered all your questions. I got a note, Omar Troll, you asked about the I-90s. My assistant Katrina has named you as our winner of our second free consultation round. Those during the live show, we give away free video consultations. We've given away 2 already, 15-minute video chats. But we have 1 more left. About 5 or 6 minutes from now, we'll name them. All you gotta do is like and subscribe and ask a good question. Most of the people with good questions ask. If not, write consultation if you really want it. And my assistant will name somebody in a little bit, and we'll name them. Also, if you haven't already, download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide. Go to marriageimmigrationlaw.com. That's marriageimmigrationlaw.com, and download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide. Learn about the fiancé visa process, the marriage process, 40+ pages of details about this stuff. It'll help you out a lot. But with that, let's take the next question. Let's see. Mohammed follows up. I'm a U.S. citizen. I filed I-130 for my wife. The application is with USCIS. Can I travel outside for U.S. for less than a month? You can do whatever you want. If you're a U.S. citizen, you can do whatever you want to do. So traveling as U.S. citizen is not a problem. How follows up from last month's backlog report, we know that there's 400,000 cases pending. Every month they are processing 30,000 cases on average. What is your opinion about this? Is that enough? It's a mathematical thing. No, it's not enough, but I don't try to give opinion on stuff. This is a factual show. There's a lot of YouTube channels that get much more subscribers and viewers than I do because they talk about opinion, but I deal with facts. So at the end of the day, you do the math. This backlog is just not getting cleared up, so it's a terrible situation, but it is what it is. Just gotta wait. Elise asks, marriage green card waiting almost 300 days. What do we do if not approved and 10.5 months waiting? Nothing. The 10.5 month waiting is arbitrary number. If it goes you can sue them if you want, if you think it's taking too long and see what happens. But waiting 300 days is normal. It's just not a thing. Waiting 1 or 2 years is not a thing. It's not a big deal. It is a big deal because it's stressful waiting, but for cases, it's not abnormal. Aline says, so many tough situations. Can you share a really encouraging story case you recently handled? Oh, that's an interesting question, Aileen. Thank you. Yeah, we do a lot. I just had one recently. What did we do recently? That was really interesting. We had one case where this person has a child that's sick, and their case is just taking forever, and they're at an embassy. It's going to take forever. And essentially, we took this case on pro bono, which means we're not charging for it. And we've given it probably $25,000 worth of legal services for free. To help this person because the child has their own issues and stuff like that. And they're just taking so long. So essentially every month we're making expedite requests, complaining to government officials, complaining to them, this and that. And despite this, they're not approving the expedite. So eventually we got some parts of the case moved up, and the case probably shaved a year off the waiting time of the case right now for getting the embassy appointment. So that was really good. After working nonstop for a year, just requesting expedites, a case that should take probably 3 years may take 2 years. It really should take 2 months. But that was somewhat encouraging story. And they like his pro bono. If it was a paying client, they would have had to pay $10,000, $15,000 extra for that service. So something happened that was really good. Our approval we got was really good. But just top of my head, I can't think about right now. But interesting question, Aileen. Thanks for coming on the show and asking. Shambo asks, can I travel with my travel document while waiting for a green card? I think you asked the question on Instagram already, but it depends on your background and if you have the proper paperwork. If there are errors or issues in your background, it could be trouble, but I don't know all the details of your case, and I haven't reviewed it, so I can't give you that individual legal guidance. But typically, if a person has a green card case pending adjustment of status and they have advanced parole and they have a clean background, the case is appropriate, there's no issues, then it's okay. The issue with people a lot of times call me or email me and say, listen, my case is clean, I don't have any issues. Then we look into it, they have issues. They just don't know what the issues are because they're not lawyers, they don't immigration lawyers, they don't know what's potentially an issue. So we gotta look over it. Most of the time it's fine, but I really can't say without details. This is something that's being hired to do everything. Sue asks, hi, John. Thank you so much for great videos. You're welcome. A person receives interview based on the document to qualify date or visa bulletin, visa availability. Well, it's really both of them. So when you have a case that goes through the embassy system, you got to submit your documents to be documentarily qualified to be able to be put in line for a green card interview, immigrant visa interview. But if your case, your visa bulletin is not current, then they usually won't schedule an interview until your visa bulletin is current for your case, your prior date, what is called current. Sometimes, rarely, they'll still do the interview, even if your case is not current, and then they'll just sit on the case until it's current and then ask you to update the medical. But generally speaking, you have to be both documentarily qualified and have the visa bulletin current both before they'll schedule an interview. All right, we got a lot more questions. Is that it for today? No, we got more. Alex asks, let me see that question again. That undo it. Decision, my I-485. Yeah, so when you have a green card case pending, you got to submit a medical decision. A lot of times for marriage case in particular, we don't send the medical checkup with the case. We send it afterwards when they ask for it. So, if you follow the instructions and the request for evidence, they explain what they want you to do and do that. Sometimes they'll say, mail us the medical and do that if that's what they ask. Sometimes they say, hold on to it or schedule an in-person interview with you and your spouse to interview your case, and then take it to the interview if that's the case. Just follow the instruction of the RFE. It should be able to take care of it. Mapis asks, hi, John. What can my wife and I do if there's no answer 7 months after I-751 interview? My green card extension expires in 4 months. How do I extend? Can we contact Ombudsman's congressperson? You contact the Ombudsman congressperson. If it goes past, if your extension expires, as we talked about earlier, you could request an info pass appointment to get a green card stamp to extend it. It could be a bad thing that 7 months don't answer. It could be just that they lost your case or forgot about it, or they did research. You try writing a letter to the office or the officer. There's lots of stuff you try. It may work, it may not. You can maybe try for citizenship. First things first, I'd want to review your case and background and see what evidence you use and hear from you how well you did the interview to get a feeling if they're doing an investigation or not. But you kind of do everything and see what works if you're really worried or if you want to hurry it up. That's how you got to do that. We got a question on Instagram. Carmen asks, is it wise to apply for a work permit, travel permit along the adjustment of status? Do you pay just for one fee for all? So some lawyers don't agree with what I'm saying. I think they're completely wrong. But you always, always, always want to file for the work permit, travel authorization, the EAD, employment authorization, form I-765, and the advanced parole travel document, form I-131, with the adjustment status application. Some lawyers don't believe it, some won't. I think they're just completely wrong in a bad way. It offends me that they don't do that because, they're afraid their client's going to, for the employment authorization, a lot of times where I see problems with people not filing is they have these law firms that do a gazillion cases and they forget to file it. That happens a lot. For the advanced parole, advanced parole gives you permission to travel outside the United States while your green card case is pending. When you have a green card case pending, not to travel outside the United States, unless you have like an L visa or H-1B or something like that. We're not gonna get into that. But some lawyers don't want their clients to travel because they're worried something bad's gonna happen. So in those cases, they don't apply for. They're trying to be maternal and be like, no, I don't want my clients to get this. But it's better to apply for it than not. I think it's ignorant not to do that. To put it that way. Having said that, there's no additional fee right now either, so it's free. Part of the filing fee you pay $1,225 for form I-485. It includes those applications, so why not get it? Don't use it, but if you need it, at least have it there. Well, I'll answer a couple more questions, maybe 1, 2, or 3 more questions, but I do want to name our winner for a third free video consultation. Sammy K asked about joint taxes. Please take a screenshot of where you're watching this so I can see your username and email me at info@jqqlaw.com so I can reply and give you a consultation. 15-minute free video consultation. For those just tuning in, we're out of consultations for today, but we do provide free video consultations every live show, Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific time. All you got to do is, come to the show, a live show, like and subscribe, ask a good question, or maybe write consultation, and we'll randomly choose people to best of our ability and name all 3 of them. So we finished for today. We got, who was the first one? I don't remember what the first one was. We got Omar Chua and Sammy K in the first one. And just, hit me up. I think it was TB or something like that. But I'll take one more question. Instagram on this other app, YouTube, and we'll take from there. Says, sir, after applying for citizenship of 3 years green card, how many months USCIS takes? There's no deadline. USCIS could take as long as they want. My internet's having problems, but USCIS could take however long they want. There's no deadline there. And Katrina's take 3 more questions, and we'll pass the 30 minutes to see what we got. We'll do some rapid fire. Mo asks, can I request expedite process for my wife's I-130 application due to the dangerous situation that's going on in Iran now? You can ask. Almost certainly they don't care and it won't make a difference. But hey, ask. Whatever. I don't see it happening. Gary, but I could be wrong. Curry James asks, if you receive work authorization during cancel removal case, will they revoke it when a case is closed? I don't handle removal cases, so I don't want to talk about anything related to removal proceedings. Next question. Anthony asks, me and my fiance are waiting for our K1 interview. She's moving here so that we can be together sooner, but we ultimately want to both move to our home country. Will this cause any issues? There's a lot going on there. There's like at least 20, 30 minutes of conversation we need to have based on that conversation. I can't answer that. We got to see, because if you're going to get a green card, she's got to live in the United States. If she's not living, that's an issue. Whether she could come here while she has a fiance case pending, that could be problematic at the airport. They could question whether she has immigrant intent or not. There's just too much going on. So you really should talk with an attorney in private to plan it out. Someone has a strategy. A lot of immigration attorneys just do the basic. Someone who would think 5 years down the line, and that's hard a lawyer to find. That's our firm. But you got to have a lawyer that plans stuff, not just the basics. But there's a lot of family planning and strategy you got to go to see what you're trying to do there. But thank you for your question. Congrats on your plans to get married. Move ask follow up on I-751 question asked earlier. Can I apply for M400 now since it's more than 4 years? If you're married with a waste of money. But you potentially can consult an attorney private to review your decision case, consult with our office, a formal consultation, and we can take it from there. And we get one more question. Killer Instincts asks, is it an issue if you don't remember the exact days of the month you change addresses? Yeah, we typically just write the first day or the 15th day. I don't think it's realistic for them to ask the exact dates. Every once in a while, when an officer wants the exact date, I always push back and say, listen, I don't remember what I ate for dinner last night. I want to remember what 2015, what day I left. It's not realistic to answer a question to ask. Do put the 1st or the 15th just to make it easy. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Email our office if you want to schedule a formal consultation. You want to really talk in private. If not, we'll see you again next week, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Love talking. Sorry about the internet quality today, but things are back. Until next one, God bless. Be safe. Bye-bye.